Lauren Boebert calls Ilhan Omar a suicide bomber, which is hilarious.
Mr. Reagan.
This is one of the funniest things I have seen in a while. Recently, Lauren Boebert suggested that Ilhan Omar was a suicide bomber. And before I give you my thoughts on that, let's just check out the video, shall we?
So, the other night on the House floor was not my first Jihad Squad moment. So, I was getting into an elevator with one of my staffers. And he and I we're leaving the Capitol, we're going back to my office, and we get in the elevator, and I see a Capitol police officer running hurriedly to the elevator. I see fret all over his face, and he's reaching, and I'm like, what? The door's shutting. Like, I can't open it. Like, what's happening? I look to my left, and there she is. Ilhan Omar. Oops. And I said, well, she doesn't have a backpack. We should be fine.
Hilarious. I love that kind of joke. So, because of this joke, the left has, you guessed it, lost their minds. But here's the thing. It was a joke. But leftists, they don't think that this joke is funny at all. Ilhan herself posted this. Saying that I'm a suicide bomber is no laughing matter. It kind of is. Kevin McCarthy and Nancy Pelosi need to take appropriate action. Normalizing this bigotry not only endangers my life, but the lives of all Muslims. Anti-Muslim bigotry has no place in Congress. So, of course, she pretends that this is somehow about Islamic bigotry against Muslims. So let me just address that quickly. It is not about bigotry. Ilhan, you moron. All right, I shouldn't call her a moron. This really isn't about her intellect. It's about her honesty. She knows that this is not about bigotry. It's about you, Ilhan. It's about you personally. Boebert never said anything about Muslims generally. She suggested that you might have a bomb because guess what? Some Muslims are suicide bombers. This has been a pretty common tactic of Islamic terrorists in the modern era. This is not something that Lauren Boebert invented in order to make Muslims look bad. This isn't some 8chan conspiracy theory. This is a real thing that really happens. If you want people not to perceive a relationship between suicide bombers and Muslims, maybe tell Muslim terrorists to stop suicide bombing people. That might help. But Boebert isn't creating a cultural perception of Islamic terrorists using suicide bombs. She's using that reality in order to make a joke about you. Going after Boebert for making a joke about you personally isn't going to improve the image of Muslims. It's just going to make you look like an idiot. And look, I think it's obvious to everyone, even Democrats with some sense left, that Ilhan Omar, you are just pretending to be a victim. You are trying to get sympathy. And honestly, it is extremely annoying. A lot of people hate you, Ilhan. And besides your insane political philosophy, your disastrous policy ideas, and your criminal activity, a lot of people's hatred of you has to do with crap like this. Crying wolf, pretending that you're a victim all the time. Lauren Boebert did not put your life in danger. She did not put the lives of other Muslims in danger. You need to change your tune, lady. Nobody is buying your bullshit anymore. Do you guys remember the cartoon I made about Ilhan Omar about a year ago? Well, it's hilarious, and I'm going to play it for you in one moment, but first I have to sell you something. Right now, stocks are at an all-time high. The economy is roaring. Houses are selling in a week. Interest rates are at zero. And the government just printed $5 trillion. What could possibly go wrong? Meanwhile, consumer confidence has hit a 10-year low, and inflation hit 6.8%, with parts of the U.S. seeing rates as high as 8%. Something is not adding up. So what can you do? You can play it safe. Putting some of your assets into precious metals will keep your money away from the volatility of the markets and will protect you from inflation. Investing in precious metals will let you sleep at night. This month, Noble Gold is giving away a free America the Beautiful solid silver 5-ounce coin with any qualifying plan that you start. So talk to an expert at Noble Gold and they'll run you through your options to keep your money safe. No pressure, no hassling, no call centers, just a chance to speak to somebody who knows what they're talking about. And how refreshing would that be? Start by calling 877-646-5347 or visit their website at noblegoldinvestments.com. Now, here's the thing that I find really infuriating about Ilhan Omar's crying victim. Ilhan, how often have you called us conservatives 1930s Germans or fascists or vice supremacists? And not as a joke. Yet you've spread this insidious lie very seriously and very intentionally ever since you got elected. And that has put lives in danger. You think that the black guy who committed the Christmas parade massacre wasn't influenced by that lie? I'm absolutely convinced that he was. And if you don't think so, you're deluding yourself. But here's another thing about Lauren Boebert's joke. She apologized. And I find that incredibly disappointing. Now, I don't actually think that, a person should never apologize for a joke. Sometimes, very rarely, but sometimes it is appropriate. Now, I told you I was going to play a cartoon for you before the break. I made this cartoon a while back. In the cartoon, I suggested that Ilhan Omar was bald under her hijab. Let's go ahead and watch it.
Hi, ladies. Is everyone ready to visit Psycat and Emperorsaurus?
Oh, hell yes!
Wait, where's Ilhan? Ilhan, it's us. Are you okay?
We are so sorry.
She bald.
Now, that's a pretty funny joke. It's a little bit infantile, I admit, but I found it amusing. Now, here's the thing. Turns out, Ayanna Pressley, one of the other members of the squad and Ilhan Omar's friend, actually is bald. Now, apparently, she's got something called alopecia, and she's totally bald. And the really awkward thing is that she announced this right after my cartoon was posted on YouTube. And I happen to know some of the folks behind AOC, like, some of her people. And I know that they monitor my videos when I post stuff about AOC and the squad. So I actually think that Ayanna Pressley may have seen the cartoon, and that might have been what prompted her to announce her baldness. I mean, maybe it was just a coincidence, but I don't think so. And I felt pretty bad about that. And, if that's indeed what happened, I would apologize for that, because although it was a joke, and it wasn't actually about Ayanna Pressley, it was about Ilhan Omar. Nevertheless, I recognize the unintentional pain that the joke might have caused, and that was never my intention. However, Boebert's joke needed no apology. She knew what she was saying when she made the joke, and I think the joke is great. Jokes are of great benefit to society, and jokes make light of serious subjects, and they bring happiness to people who might otherwise be feeling down. A good joke is a beautiful thing. It can be a brilliant source of light in times of darkness. Ilhan Omar is a sitting member of Congress. If she can't take a joke made at her expense, she should not be in that position. And Boebert even called Omar in order to, maybe work out their differences. And Omar hung up on her. So, maybe I'm a bit biased, but I think that even from a neutral perspective, Boebert is being the better person here. Omar is just being nasty. Now, the entire thing has blown up into this online bickering. Republican Nancy Mace jumped into the fray by condemning Boebert on CNN and calling her comments racist.
I have time after time condemned my colleagues on both sides of the aisle for racist tropes and remarks that I find disgusting, and this is no different than any others.
But you do condemn this comment from Congresswoman Boebert?
Absolutely, 100%.
Now, I don't really know anything about Nancy Mace. I probably should, but I don't. But Marjorie Taylor Greene then jumped on Twitter and she called Nancy Mace a rhino, a Republican in name only, essentially a leftist pretending to be a Republican. And then Mace shot back and called Marjorie Taylor Greene batshit crazy. And you know what? This helps nothing on the Republican side. This kind of bickering is stupid. From where I'm sitting, Mace is actually the one who is wrong here. You really shouldn't condemn a fellow conservative unless they've really done something bad, I think. Now, she can decline to comment on the Boebert situation on CNN. She doesn't need to comment on that, first of all. Secondly, it was not a racist joke.
Racist tropes and remarks that I find disgusting.
To say that it's racist just feeds the absurd leftist narrative, and that, honestly, pisses me off. So while I'm not going to say whether or not I like Nancy Mace, as I don't really know enough about her, I will say that calling Boebert's comments racist, that was stupid. That was really, really stupid. First rule of being a Republican, do not defend the phony cries of leftists like Ilhan Omar. Okay, maybe that's not the first rule, but it's a rule. Look, the point is, Ilhan is lying. Her cries are not genuine. She's not hurt at all. She's just using this joke to try to make Boebert look bad. This is all just political gamesmanship. Ilhan Omar has always cast herself as a victim, and she's never been a victim at all. That image, that victim, I'm a victim image, that's entirely invented. It's a marketing scheme. It's branding. It's a complete fabrication. You see, Ilhan Omar grew up rich. She's always been a spoiled brat. Ilhan Omar came from an impoverished region of the world, the Somali Democratic Republic. Now, this was a communist country in Africa, and a lot of people think that she grew up in poverty there because it's a poor country, right? But nothing could be further from the truth. Ilhan Omar's family members were high-ranking communists. The family was part of the aristocratic class in Somalia. Her grandfather was the director of the National Marine Transport, and her father was a colonel in the Somali army. When you have a communist military dictatorship, high-ranking members of the military are the aristocratic class. And Ilhan Omar grew up enjoying the benefits of that life. In one interview that I watched, Ilhan complained about transitioning from her wonderful life in Somalia to an ordinary middle-class life in America. The apartment she lived in, she complained, was too small compared to the house that she lived in back in Somalia. Now, I happen to have a friend who grew up in the nearby region of Eritrea. Now, her family was also rich back in Africa. Her parents currently live in Beverly Hills, and they are staunch Republicans. And she grew up here, but her family has told her all about life in the old country. And she told me that her grandparents find America very difficult because in America, there are no servants. And that's the struggle for rich Africans who have to flee their country because of civil war, as Ilhan Omar did. They can no longer exploit the impoverished population. Brutal authoritarianism is always great for those in charge. It's just hell for everyone else. And that's the country Ilhan Omar wants to turn the U.S. into. She wants to burn down our constitutional republic, destroy the merit-based capitalism that allows poor Americans to become rich Americans, and she wants to rebuild the socialist utopia of her youth, a utopia built on the exploitation and suffering of the impoverished population. If Ilhan Omar had her way, we'd all be serving her in her palace, the twisted dream of a deranged narcissist. So Lauren Boebert needs to keep joking about Ilhan Omar. She needs to keep mocking her, because there is nothing that deranged narcissists hate more than being ridiculed. Well, that's it for me, and remember, it's not that our liberal friends are ignorant, it's just that they're all deranged narcissists. Good night.
The goal for all of us should be that one day things will be done neither because of nor in spite of any of the differences between us. Ethnic differences or racial differences, whatever they may be, that we will have total equal opportunity for all people. And I would do everything I could in my power to bring that about.